But I think it means so much more than just bringing products to market. And later this morning, we're going to hear from some fantastic companies who are innovating at all kinds of levels and in all kinds of ways. In my own sector, the Health and Care Enterprise Board is shaping and influencing the future of the sector across the county. This means that we're really interested in innovation and supporting businesses to grow and succeed, and we're particularly focused on new solutions which are going to support people to live well for longer in the rural communities that are so much a part of our Lincolnshire environment. We operate in a world of change, and that brings challenges, but it also brings opportunities. And it's surprising, actually, how few businesses we have innovating in health and care across Lincolnshire, despite the huge need for the services in the rural location and with our ageing population. And of course, this is duplicated across many of our sectors. Earlier this year, we began to explore clusters and the conditions that we need to accelerate and to encourage their formations. And more ambitiously, we've been thinking about how we can encourage people to locate their businesses here. You'll probably tell from my accent that I don't originate from these parts, and yet I am testimony of what a great place Lincolnshire is to both live and to work and to succeed and to thrive. We've already seen some great pioneering examples around clusters, and particularly in the formation of the UK Food Valley and in the emerging regional defence and security cluster, which has been shaped and driven by the LEP over the last decade through collaboration with partners. We're widely known for our diverse businesses that offer vast opportunities for innovation ecosystem, and in my sector alone, we employ 58,000 people, and we bring over £2 billion into the local Greater Lincolnshire economy. We've also got a number of strategic assets that we can leverage to help businesses innovate and grow and thrive. One great example of this is the Lincolnshire Medical School, part funded by the Greater Lincolnshire LEP, which is a key driver to recruiting, training, and tackling the challenges of delivering medicine in a rural environment. Both the Lincoln Institute for Rural Health and the National Centre for Rural Health and Care are located in Lincolnshire, giving us a great opportunity for the academic research to underpin that innovation. And this approach is duplicated across many of our game-changing sectors. For example, there are incredible academic business and support and growth facilities such as the Lincoln Institute for Agritech, the South Lincolnshire Food Enterprise Zone, and the Gravity Building on the Science and Innovation Park that's dedicated to supporting the defence cluster. Collectively, we hold enormous potential for growth and great career opportunities in innovation and technology. And I know myself that when I come to these events and I hear about the great innovative work that's going on and the assets that we have, I am always astounded that we don't know more about what we're doing and what each other of us are doing in Lincolnshire to really drive innovation and growth. And so for this year, an innovation commission was formed to explore how we innovate at a system level and how we create a high-quality and diverse innovation ecosystem for the sector. And we're going to hear more from them later on. But by working with our fantastic employers, colleges, training providers, universities, and partners, this will be our blueprint to really take advantage of our strengths and its potential to make Lincolnshire a region with a thriving, innovative culture at its core. By nurturing and by embracing innovation, we can attract more investment, we can create higher value jobs, and we can develop solutions for those pressing challenges that we're all facing as a society. So today is an exciting day, because throughout the morning we're going to hear from business leaders, from academics, from experts, and from our inspiring keynote speaker, who I was lucky enough to speak to earlier, and I cannot wait to hear him speak. But he describes himself as the rebel technologist. So I think we'll all be interested in hearing what he's got to say. We've also got a fantastic lineup of technology, showcasing an exciting variety of innovations in the demonstration area. And it's great that you have to walk through it to get a coffee, but stop along the way and have a look. There's some incredible things that are happening in our county. Of course, these things are always better when they're interactive, so there are questions that can be posted via the QR code that's in your program, and they'll be doing Slido with where we can ask questions and give feedback as well, so please do make the most of this. But first of all, to kick off our day, I'm delighted to welcome to the stage the powerhouse that is Ruth Carver, Chief Executive of the Greater Lincolnshire LEP, who's going to open our conference today.
Obviously, that's made me giggle quite a lot, being described as a powerhouse. Good morning, everybody. It's great to see so many of you here today, and I'd echo Nikki's thoughts of, welcome to our LEP annual business conference. We've been bringing you together now for 10 years in conference, and we believe it's really important to bring Lincolnshire together in this way, to work together, to drive economic growth, and to create all the opportunities that we are going to talk about today. We also believe it's super important to have one single unified voice on the economy, which can drive forward and mobilise all of our resources collectively in one push towards economic growth. However, we don't just do this on conference day. We work really closely with all of the partners within this room, all of the leaders from the public sector, the business sector, the education sector, all year round. And I personally want to thank you for all of your contributions in that effort as we drive towards much more prosperous economic growth. Our purpose at the LEP and the team's purpose and the board's purpose is very much to advocate, to commission, to deliver, and to enable. And we do those four things with all of our partners, and the annual report that you've got on your tables or available at the stand really sets out some of the things that we've done in the last year, and there'll be throughout the conference there'll be lots of kind of messages flowing through about what we've achieved in Lincolnshire in the last 10 years. So you'll see those kind of coming around, some key messages. One of the best ways that we enable this partnership and enable this growth is through our strategic advisory boards. They cover employment and skills, food, manufacturing, energy, visitor economy, health and care, innovation, business support, and defence. And over 200 business leaders, readily give up their time give up their time effectively to kind of get into and get to the difficult issues and where the opportunities are. This year, Nikki said some of those things. We've already enabled Lincolnshire's first attendance at a major defence exhibition. We've done some very detailed research and understanding the skills needs in the low carbon sector. And we've developed a recruitment campaign for the heritage, arts and tourism sector. There's many, many, many more examples within the annual report, but I just wanted to highlight a few of those. There is much to do with the economy, but there's also much to celebrate at this particular point. Some of the highlights for me have really been around advocating this year on UK Food Valley internationally. We've been able to do that. And in particular, we were awarded some money with other LEPs or other local authorities on a launchpad programme for innovation. And I'm really pleased to say that one of the recipients is here today, Air Trailers, and they have got in the hall there a prototype blueberry harvester, and it's one of the first of its kind. And we were awarded £7.5 million to work with small businesses in the agri-food sector to bring forward these prototypes, to really focus on innovation, and that's the kind of thing that we really want to do more of in the future. This year as well, employment and skills has been front and centre. Working with the education sector in particular, skills boot camps are a significant success story for our area. They offer flexible training for adults to develop skills when looking for a new job or promotion. And 1,000 people have been through a skills boot camps this year, and 96% of those have been able to take on new roles or responsibilities within their existing organisation. So a huge success story for the team. We also continue with our local authorities to connect businesses with schools and colleges so that they can inspire and encourage young people to think about career opportunities on their doorsteps. And we're currently rolling this out through primary schools. We've also increased the number of experiences that young people and teachers have of the workplace example. And we are bringing new local ambassadors to join the regional network so that we can promote all of our amazing sectors within Lincolnshire. My thanks go out in particular to all of the volunteers involved in our Careers Hub. They are motivating the next generation and also to our schools, colleges and training providers, and universities, many of which are here today in the central hall. There's a zone in the centre of the hall which is dedicated to education, and they are showing some amazing technology that they use in education through VR and robots, etc. But thank you to those schools and colleges and the education sector to help us develop a curriculum for the future, and also the courses that businesses need to ensure that there's a good and strong and talented workforce for the future. I think I'm also pleased to talk about the Business Lincolnshire Growth Hub today. This is delivered by Lincolnshire County Council, and it's supported by many local authorities across Greater Lincolnshire. It has now worked with over 27,000 businesses, an amazing amount across Lincolnshire since its inception, and it is working very closely with over 2,000 entrepreneurs. We offer a real progression ladder in that, from a startup through to international trade and into high growth programs. And it includes specialist advice in agriculture and horticulture, manufacturing, visitor economy, low carbon, social economy and digitalisation. And I'm also pleased to announce today, and it's very topical because of the conference theme, the launch of the Business Lincolnshire AI Adoption Accelerator today. This accelerator programme is designed to guide businesses through a journey of AI adoption, from overcoming barriers to AI-driven solutions. So please visit the Business Lincolnshire team in the Central Hall to find out more about that programme, which is launched today. Devolution in our area is something that we all are interested in, and we are all talking about, and the opportunities that arise from devolution. It's also progressing well across Greater Lincolnshire with the development of a county combined authority and voting for mayor in Lincolnshire in May 2025. The functions of the LEP will transfer across to the combined authority, and we are working really closely with the combined authority, the emerging combined authority and the local authorities to make this transition from the LEP into the combined authority as smooth as possible over the forthcoming months. Finally, I would like to add my thanks to the chair and to many of the board directors who are here today for their commitment to Lincolnshire, particularly to the commitment for the economy and for the business. Thank you also for your attendance today. And please do take the opportunity to get involved in the various initiatives that are going on today. If you're not already a member of Team Lincolnshire, please do sign up to get involved. It's a business ambassador programme. Join the Careers Hub, which I've mentioned. Become a volunteer within the Careers Hub. Give an hour, get involved, be an enterprise advisor, or get involved and see some of the technology that we've got on display today. So the technology that we have chosen is very, very focused on doing and partaking. So please do get involved and look at some of the technology and the digital tech that there is today, and you'll be fascinated and surprised by some of the technology and innovation that is coming out of Lincolnshire. So thank you. I hope you enjoy the conference that we have put together to you, and then I will hand back to Nikki for the next section. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. I'm really thrilled to be announcing the next session on our agenda, and I don't think we've done this before. This is a unique discussion. We're bringing together the three chairs of the Greater Lincolnshire LEP for the first time to share their experiences and reflect on their highlights. And we have the three of them on the stage with us now. Neal Juster, sitting in the middle, is our current chair and Vice-Chancellor of the University of Lincoln, and he became the chair of the Greater Lincolnshire LEP last year. He holds a BSc in Mechanical Engineering and a PhD in Computer-Aided Design from the University of Leeds, and he's written a number of books on rapid prototyping and the use of virtual reality in the design and manufacturing process. Pat Doody was a career banker and was our chair from 2020 to 2023. He's recently retired after leading the NatWest commercial team, having spent 34 years in Lincolnshire. He's developed a wide network which he puts to good use across a portfolio of both chair and trustee memberships. And Ursula Lidbetter was CEO of the Lincolnshire Co-op for 18 years, providing a range of services across many communities and creating economic development through schemes such as the Cornhill Quarter in Lincoln and the Lincoln Science and Innovation Park. She was the inaugural chair of the LEP from 2010 to 2020, overseeing a period of evolution in a number of key projects, and was honoured with an OBE in 2019. So welcome to the three chairs, and I'll welcome back Ruth, who I believe is hosting this conversation.
And what we're going to do is have a conversation effectively about the future of the economy and really get the perspectives from the three previous chairs of the LEP, and to share their highlights and their experiences over the last 10 years. And so what we're going to do is ask the LEP chairs, just going to start off with some three topics really, and then open up to kind of conversation. So the first area that we're going to kind of just touch on is, what do you think has worked best for the Greater Lincolnshire LEP and why? And we are going to ask you in a very high-tech way to write down one key word that you think has worked best for the Greater Lincolnshire LEP and why. So you can write those down on there, and then we'll do a kind of a reveal. And whilst you're writing those words down, I think it's probably a good time to remind you that there's a scan code within your annual reports that you have on your tables, and you can ask questions through that, or comments through that scan code. So you scan code and you go into a Slido, and then at the end of this session, we also have chance to ask questions directly, and therefore we've put a selection of questions, and we would like you to vote for the question that you would like to ask the chairs in this next kind of session coming up. Okay, right, so we are going to go to Ursula first, I think, in terms of the word. You were the original chair, so you get to go first. So if we can go with that. So, yeah, what has worked for the best for the Greater Lincolnshire LEP and why?
Well, the word I've written is geography. The reason I've put geography is because it's a local enterprise partnership. It's about this locality, and the geography defines the place, for every place, but particularly I think for Greater Lincolnshire. We've got a huge coastline, we've got the RAF is here because of the geography, the agri-food. You have to understand the geography to understand the economy, and therefore to drive it forward. And when we were asked to form a LEP, and Ruth has been here right since the beginning, we remember those days, the government just said, form a local partnership for economic growth. There were really no rules about what you did. There were no rules about the geography. Just councils was that get together with people locally and do this. So we had to define what is our economic geography. And so you have to really think about that. What size makes a good economy work? Should we be Lincolnshire, Nottinghamshire and Leicestershire? We're often sort of added to that, aren't we, and feel a little bit left out sometimes. Should we be thinking about the north bank of the Humber? Should we be thinking about the agri-food down in the Fens? So we talked to all those neighbours and said, well, what do you think? Because they were going to set a sort of a boundary too. And we came up with Humber to the Wash. We weren't going to be cut off somewhere sort of 3/4 of the way up Lincolnshire. That doesn't work economically. Humber to the Wash. But then you have to say, but the economy doesn't have a boundary. The economy doesn't work that way. So once you've defined what your core geography is, then you've got to think about, okay, how do we work Humber-wide? How do we make sure we're still part of the East Midlands and the Midlands, which, of course, now we've got the Midlands engine thinking right across the country. But how do we connect? Because we are a little bit sometimes lost in the country, aren't we? How many times have you been asked, well, where is Lincolnshire? So we want to connect down in the south to the Fens, up north, and out into the sea, because there's a huge coastline as well, which has a unity right down the east coast. So it was all about setting the right geography and then understanding it. And I think because we got that right, having thought about it, and of course now we're getting into devolution, that same geography, Humber to the Wash, has sustained as a proper economic entity and is being recognised now through the devolution deal. So I think to me that was absolutely core. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ursula. I'm going to go to Pat now. I'm going in order of chairs here, aren't I, in the way that you've served. So, Pat, would you like to go next? What's your one word?
Thanks, Ruth. I've gone for clusters. I often reflect that Lincolnshire, Greater Lincolnshire, has become a much more ambitious place over the past 20 years probably. And I think much of that is to do with the development of clusters. That clusters, I think, generate a multiplier effect and they breed confidence. And I've got 2 or 3 examples I wanted to share. I think the first one is the Lincoln Science and Innovation Park, which the LEP helped establish, obviously with the key partners being the Co-op and the university and the local authorities. And that's only been around for 10 years. It's hard to really just grab hold of that. You know, other areas had business science parks for a long time. It's 10 years old. There are 8 buildings on site, 13,000 square metres of occupied space. I think as of Monday, 100% occupied. And science innovation has been at the heart of that. There are many companies in the exhibition hall today that grew out of that science innovation part, and they're very successful members of either the pharmacy side of science or defence and security. So that's a really strong example of how a cluster can bring economic prosperity. I want to then contrast that with a much longer established cluster, which is the port complex on the Humber. And again, that's been, you know, I think the Port of Grimsby was established in the late 1700s. That now is again at the forefront of innovation, with not just the wind farms, not just the green hydrogen schemes that are in progress, carbon capture, sustainable aviation fuel. Again, that's a hub that has generated a lot of prosperity. And anybody who's not been to the port complex, Immingham and Grimsby, it's an incredible centre of activity. It really just blows your mind to go and have a look and just see, you know, it's the UK's largest port by tonnage. And it really reflects that, and it's great for our county that it's part of our structure. And then going back even further in time, you know, the sort of birth of the food sector, which goes back over the centuries. And I think the food sector in Lincolnshire is the classic example of where clusters really can work. You get research and development as people share ideas and collaborate, and the Food Technology Centre, I've visited that several times, is a great example of how people come together to develop foods for the future. You get labour market development and careers development. People know if they move to that area for a job, and if that didn't work out, there's another job in the business next door or across the road or in that area, so you can move to the area safely knowing there's a whole range of career prospects in the area. You can help the local educators will develop their programs to suit the skills you need, whether that's the university or colleges, and even schools through the career hubs. Local employers can shape curriculum by talking to schools about what their workforce of the future is going to need, and it's a great example of how grouping can help tailor and develop the workforce of the future. And more than that, you're able to get the attention of the power providers, the water providers. Government will listen to an industry or a cluster that is growing at least double the rate of GDP, you can measure the investment in the food sector in hundreds of millions of pounds per year. So you gain a voice, and I think, you know, clusters have proven, the defence clusters going through that growth strategy now is one of the strengths of this Greater Lincolnshire area.
Yeah, all good points, thank you. Neil, what's your word?
Thankfully it's different. It's also long, which means you can't see at the back. Collaboration, and sort of, I think Pat's touched on quite a bit of that in the clusters, because you can't form clusters without collaboration. I've only been in Lincolnshire for 3 years, but when I arrived, what I was amazed by was just how aligned everybody was in the LEP, the councils, and also from the university, in trying to grasp the opportunities that Lincolnshire has. But that can't happen unless we all collaborate. So to see the public sector, the private sector, education, the NHS, the third sector, all working together with a common aim to make Lincolnshire a much better place to come and live, to work, and to socialise was fantastic. And when I started chairing the LEP board, when you have people around the table, and I think my first board was online, I think, and of course you can see the names on the screens, but what you couldn't really see was who were the public sector, who were the politicians, who were the private sector, because everybody had the same intent of actually making the LEP work for the county. So collaboration for me.
Brilliant,
I
thank
think
you.
I would just add to that, we are encouraged to chip in. Team Lincolnshire is another great example of collaboration. I think Team Lincolnshire has done a brilliant job of promoting business across this county. And when I was last around, it was 120 members. It's probably more than that now. But that is a classic Lincolnshire thing. I don't think it's done the same elsewhere. And it's a really good example of how we all want to work together to advance the cause of Greater Lincolnshire.
So we're just going to move to another kind of subject area. You'll be relieved we've left the high tech behind here. So today's conference is all about innovation for growth, and therefore, just thinking about the future of the economy, in particular in our area, what opportunities would you highlight to an incoming mayor and a combined authority to grow the economy in the next, 5, 10, 20 years? And I'm going to go back to Pat, if that's okay first.
I think the thing that has been really important over the years with the LEP is that the local authorities and, as Neil's highlighted, private sector work together. And I think the voice of business in recommending and advising on investments in an area is really key. So the advice I would give an incoming mayor would be to talk to business, continue the dialogue with business, use the knowledge that exists within the LEP and the local authorities, because it's worked really well. And I think it's been a classic case of everybody pulling in the same direction. So for me, it would be continue the collaboration and continue to involve business in investment strategies.
Thank you. And a reminder that the Slido is active, and we'll be coming to that next. So if you've got any particular questions and you want to make a vote, there are 4 questions there, which will be our last question to the chairs. You get a chance to kind of say which question that you would like to hear from the chairs on, so please visit that. The scan code is in your brochure. Ursula.
Okay, what would I say to the new mayor and devolved authority? I think the most exciting prospects that we can see here today in that hall is the opportunity to connect the research coming out of our academic institutions and within companies, the technological developments, to connect all of that with industry. We're just seeing such phenomenal activity coming from that, in the agri-tech, in defence tech, biomedical. It's extraordinary what we are able to do. And it's sort of invisible, isn't it? It's not buildings, it's not roads, the kind of things that mayors are asked to fight for. But the future of this county and putting us right, having worldwide significance really, are some of these things that are being done and can be done. So I would be encouraging them to connect up, to help to connect industry, research, tech, innovation, to really keep that going. And the other one is almost the opposite of that, is to really think about the sense of place. The world is changing very much, and as a former retailer, very conscious of this, that what people do, how they live their lives, how they get their goods, what they want from the place that they live is changing dramatically. So try, as the new devolved authority, to think forward 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. What will towns be? What will cities be? What will people need from them? What will we not be doing anymore? And create the places of the future. If we can get ahead of that, then I think that would put us in a really, really good place. But I think a lot of places are going to struggle to do that. So if we can really future think our places and start to invest in the thinking and then in the infrastructure for that, I think that would be brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. Neil, advice to a mayor.
Well, I think building on both those things, but I'd advise the mayor to come and talk to the LEP and the good work we've done and some of the good work that we're going to see today. We're going to see the Innovation Commission work this afternoon. We've worked hard collectively, over 400 people on the strategic advisory boards recently and the main board, really thinking about how we can develop the county. The clusters that has already been mentioned by Pat, is let's build on that. We've spent 14 years building a coalition of the willing. Come and talk to us, and not just us, but we have networks back out into the wider private and public sector. Let's work together with the mayor to make Lincolnshire a great place to come and live and study and work.
Brilliant, thank you. We're going to go to the poll now and see which question has come up as the most popular to ask you, and then indeed to see if there's any other kind of questions that are coming up through the question and answer. But we've got all the morning to kind of cover those as well. So let's have a look. So it's question 4, actually, that's coming up as the best at the moment in terms of voting. So that's really switching your kind of hats on the economy and thinking about your roles as leaders, really, leaders of organisations across Greater Lincolnshire. So what advice would you be able to give companies on staying competitive within this really ever changing and evolving landscape that we see ourselves in at the moment? And I haven't thought about who the order is, so one of you, who wants to go first?
I'm happy to chip in.
Okay, thanks, Pat.
I think staff retention, I think one of the things that's become very clear over the past few years in particular is it's very difficult to recruit staff in a more rural area, and therefore having staff retention policies, I'm sure most people have those, but training your own has become the thing people have to revert to provide skills for future growth. So working on staff retention policy would be one of my advice points.
I think building on that is actually recruit the best staff that you can. That you've already mentioned at the beginning with the things like the schools boot camps, the fact we have relationships between the education sector in the county. We are developing those skills. We also need to work together in the county to make it a great place to have the infrastructure to live and work. But the bit also in that, and it's very, very difficult for companies to do, and maybe have a bit more luxury as a vice chancellor of a university, but is to keep scanning that horizon. Can you divine what policies are coming our way? Is there going to be some stability in any sectors that the government wants to support and your customer base, and spend the time, which I know is difficult because the operational stuff always takes the day-to-day priorities, spend the time to just keep horizon scanning and seeing where the world is moving to.
Thank you. I think this is one of the purposes of the LEP conference, isn't it? To provide that kind of chance once a year to think about where all the opportunities might be across Greater Lincolnshire, and to speak to your other leaders and your peers and kind of understand their direction of travel. Ursula.
Absolutely, I would endorse what Pat and Neil have said, particularly that future thinking. You can just get so bogged down in the day-to-day that you need to find time to look right over the horizon at your markets, at what you're doing, at whether you're set up for the future, anticipating what the needs of your markets are going to be. What is your USP? Could you use that in something completely different? And then I would give this advice to every business, every charity, every council: keep lean. Keep your costs as low as you can reasonably. There's loads of stuff you don't have to do. Stop doing it. Stop spending. Because then not only can you then have resilience for whatever comes up, national insurance, whatever it might be, you're then resilient. But the main thing is you then have some firepower, so that when you have a great idea, or you want to take a risk, or you just see an opportunity, you've got something there to go and grab it. It's very well having a great idea, but you've got to have the firepower to do it. So I would say keep lean, and then seek those opportunities, and then you can take some risks.
The other thing I would add, it's great to hear that there is now going to be some support for AI adoption, but it wasn't that many years ago that we were putting out programs to help firms make the most of the use of the internet. Wasn't that long ago. As I go around now, the AI adoption in some areas is phenomenal. I'm blown away with how people are able to shortcut board reports, data analysis by using AI, and my worry is that some of these smaller firms don't have enough access to that AI technology to make sure they're able to move at the same pace that the rest of the industry. So I'd really encourage people to go and try and find that support if they're able to.
Yeah, it's a really valid point, isn't it? We have a rich tapestry of SMEs, you know, one of the largest places in the country that has a predominance of SMEs, and we really have to think differently about how we take products to the market. So get involved in Business Lincolnshire is always the kind of the solution, isn't it? It's absolutely designed for SMEs. We've got time, I think, for just one last question, actually. So thinking about what are some of the most critical infrastructure changes that we might need to make in Greater Lincolnshire. Again, just give us your kind of view on what those priorities might look like.
Unfortunately, roads remain a really important part. The food sector would tell you that they need some more road infrastructure in their neck of the woods to free up transport. But rail too, the east-west links, whether it's from Lincoln across to the West Midlands, or East Midlands even, and the ports complex in the north across to the ports complex in the west, they're really key areas for further investments.
And energy, we produce 25% of the UK's energy, or bring it onshore in Lincolnshire. It'd be nice if some of it's sort of stuck with us. So I think we need the energy if we're going to really see businesses grow. We need that energy to stay in Lincolnshire, or some of it.
And I'd like to add the infrastructure for skills, because the skills that we need now will be different in the future, and the more brilliant people we have here and can train and develop, that will be absolutely vital. That will be key to our success. So the skills infrastructure, I think, is really up there for me.
Brilliant. Thank you. We'll draw that to a close now. But I wonder if you can kind of thank our chairs for I think it's really important that we have this corporate memory, I suppose, in Lincolnshire, and it was really important for us to kind of bring the three chairs together and to think about not only their reflections on the past, but the future of the economy. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.